Hello, everyone. Welcome to School After Hours podcast, where we talk about all things related to school time programming and education. I am your host, JD, and on today's show, we are going to talk about the importance of pivoting. Have you ever had to immediately change your plans because of some unknown factor that popped up in your situation? Well, in this episode, Ellen Victoria Luckey, the founder of Victoria's Kitchen, shares with us how her pivot saved her after-school program and created more streams of income for her business. In this conversation, we'll talk about trusting your creative process as you're making changes to your program, advocating for your program and student needs, but also staying connected to community in difficult times, among a number of other things that'll come up in our conversation. But before we get into Ellen's story, let's start with our Community Corner. Community Corner is a segment of the show that allows guests or myself to share tips, advice, or information on a specific topic with young people, families, or community members. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our Community Corner conversation. Hi, Ellen. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. So, this is my thing. So, for Community Corner, here's my question for you. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So, what are some of the challenges you face being a program provider starting your business for Victoria's Kitchen?
One of the main challenges we face, it was just, to be honest with you, being a minority. So I'm a double minority. I'm a Black female. And a lot of times in the community, we obviously understand where things need to be and how they need to go, but we may not always have that backing that we need when we're compared to our counterparts that don't look as we look. And so I had challenges in just getting people to believe me and that I could accomplish the goals needed to accomplish in the community without them actually knowing me, which came at a high risk. But honey, once I did it, it was done. And they began to see that we can't judge a book by its cover, right? We think that all the time. We are told that all the time. But unfortunately, it happens in life. It happened to me a lot, especially at the beginning of this business. It still happens. But I just kept on going. I worked hard as I could, and I showed everyone what I could do for my community, and things have blossomed from there.
Thank you, Ellen, for sharing those tips with us. Now, let's go ahead and start our interview. Hi, Ellen. Once again, thank you for being on the show. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Great to have you. So I want to start off, in case people do not know you, give them a little bit of background information and tell them a little bit about yourself and then how you started Victoria's Kitchen.
All right. Well, I am Ellen Victoria Luckey. I am the owner of the fabulous Victoria's Kitchen. We are a culinary school for young people, but we have expanded into a culinary experience for the entire family on a whole, because you know you can't have community without the family. It's a cliche but that we say all the time, but it takes a village. So we've expanded into that portion as well. But I'm also a mother of 3 beautiful girls, Ariana, Jasmine, and Rachel, who are just my heart and joy. And then my fabulous husband, who puts up with this girl here, who is also my business partner. So we are just forever together all the time. And it was just a passion that I have for kids, cooking, and teaching. And honey, I wanted to have 10 kids, okay? That's how much I love kids. But once I had one, I said, woo!
So I think about this.
Change that a little bit. But this way I can have many kids by taking the passion of wanting to teach them and help develop them, because it just brings me joy to see what we can do. So I started Victoria's Kitchen, also mainly because of the nutritional and digestive issues that I was seeing in my own children. And as a mother, when you see things and you're trying to get help and you're not getting that help for your child, what are you going to do? You're going to go out there and solve it yourself. So that's what I did, and that's how I was able to start Victoria's Kitchen as a kids' cooking school.
Oh, so a problem and then came up with a solution by starting your own.
I did.
Wonderful. So as you went out into that process of building your business and starting Victoria's Kitchen, I know offline we talked about the process, and you said that you started off with your girls' school to see if there was interest. Go ahead and tell us about that process as well. So you started at home, had a little snacks. Did your girls go ahead and try some of the things first, and then you were like, "Yeah, this is a hit"?
They were my number one critics, I'm going to say, because I always would try things out with them. So it helped that I was already a mom and I already knew what kids liked. And I'm kind of a mature kid at heart. I like to say mature. So I always think out of the box of things that I would have liked to do and that they like to do. So I had the idea after I left corporate America and we started Victoria's Kitchen. I started at my oldest daughter's school. She was in, I think, first grade at the time. And so I had some recipes. I always cook with them anyway. We always cooked in the kitchen because that's a bonding thing, cooking in the kitchen. And the class full up, so things went great there. And then I started to offer more and more options there at the school. And then I began to just start cold calling. Calling different people, networking. Honey, you have to network. And you have to be authentic about it. You just can't go to people just to get information from them. Put some interest in it. You know, you want them to be interested in you, and you also need to be showing authentic interest in them. And then people just kept seeing how we were growing and blossoming, and they were seeing how we were interacting and combining the curriculum from the SOLs and academics, reading, writing, math, food history, culture. Culture is very important. And we were incorporating all of that. And that started opening the doors, talking to more people. But we started at one school with 2 toaster ovens, $25 each. And that's the story behind it all. So if we had time today, I'll tell that story too.
I know that's right. And I think that's where sometimes as providers, we skip that step. Like we have a wonderful idea. And then in the process of that execution, we don't always find a way to link it to what they're learning in school or how they can apply it in like day-to-day life. So sometimes I feel like that's a misstep on our behalf as providers. But the way that you worked it out, you taught them a little bit of history, you taught them a little bit of measurement and science. Like it was all the things. It sounds like it was all the things.
It was, and I made it fun and interactive. It can't be boring. I'm an adult. I don't want to sit there and watch something boring. I want to be hands-on, engaging virtually. I want auditory skills. I want to hear, and I want to get my hands in there and feel it. So I incorporated all those things to keep them engaged, and they don't even notice that they're reading, writing, they're sounding out words. All they're thinking is, I'm about to eat this food in a few minutes, and that's what I'm going to focus on getting done. But they're learning so much in social skills. Skills they're learning, especially when after COVID hit and we started opening back up again, parents were literally putting kids in our classes to help build the social skills that they had lost. And social skills is a life skill. If you don't know how to communicate, you know, that all this texting and the emailing, I'm guilty of that too. But the spoken word is getting lost in this generation, and we have to help incorporate it in our curriculums and bring it back. If you incorporate it in these after-school programs, they can catch on with you, and it can start to develop those social skills that are hugely missing from the generation right now.
So I know that you started Victoria's Kitchen before the pandemic, right?
Yes.
So when that was happening, like what were you in the process of doing for Victoria's Kitchen? And then COVID hit.
Let me tell you. First of all, I want to say that we are so grateful and blessed for being able to make it through COVID, right? Because we're in the education and food industry, and those 2 industries, among other ones, got hit really bad, especially the food industry. So before COVID, we were in expansion mode, okay? I started Victoria's Kitchen 2016, December 31st, 2016. I brought in that new year, 2017, with a bang and started Victoria's Kitchen. And we started growing at my oldest daughter's school, and about 2.5 years into it, I said, we need a space, because we were in community centers, libraries, churches. We were in people's homes when they needed us to come do private classes. We were everywhere. We were at trampoline parks. We were on the farms. There was nowhere you cannot tell me I cannot teach a child. If you have somewhere for me to teach a child, I will be there. Just give me some running water so they can wash their hands. And we did that. I mean, it amazes me. We were everywhere. Trampoline park was really fun, but that's a whole other story. So we just had to just get it together, and we needed our own space. So we still continue to do offsite classes, but in certain situations where you're teaching youth, you need a safe environment. And sometimes public areas may not be the safest, especially for younger students. So I said, we have to find a building. And so we had saved up. We were blessed and doing pretty good, but we could not find a building. And I was like, oh my goodness, we have to figure this out. And we finally found a building. And things were going well. And as I had mentioned to you offline earlier, we ended up losing that building right before we were going to close. And I sat there and I cried. And then a few minutes later, I said, well, if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. And a few minutes later, while I was in the parking lot crying in front of that building in my car, I got a phone call from the real estate broker. And they said, you see that brand new building right behind you? You want to go over there? I said, a new building, honey? And she said, yes, do you want to go over there? I said, I'd love to go there. And she said, do you want an allowance? I said, an allowance? I said, you want to give me I said, yes. I said, but we just lost it because we didn't come up with the right amount at the right time because we were waiting for payments to come in from clients. And she said, don't worry about it. I said, oh. And then she said, you want us to help you build it out too? I said, a brand new building, an allowance, and you're going to help me build it out to the way it needs to be? I said, you don't have to ask me. You asked me all these questions. The answer is yes. Right. And we started building out. We have one of the best contractors ever. Things just kept falling into place. And I have a strong belief that things were falling into place for us was because we invested in our community. We didn't take advantage of them. We were relatable and understanding, but that's also because we come from our community. We are relatable. Right. You have to be relatable. Our children in these after-school programs, yes, they do need to experience people and those that are not in their culture, because you have to have a well-rounded personality and a well-rounded scope of things. But when you're also teaching certain things on a specific level, you do need to make sure that the people being involved, a good percentage of them, are relatable and understand where they're coming from, because sometimes it can be a little difficult to teach and inspire youth if you have not walked in their shoes. You can say, I know how you feel, but unless you felt it, you don't know how they feel. You don't know how they felt if you've never been hungry before. If you were in a single family home, you're not going to know how to help them transfer those emotions into the perfectness that they can actually be when they're in these youth after school programming. And so we got the building. And then we were going to launch some other items that were coming along with our company to have a few things in the grocery stores. And then, bam, COVID hit. And I was like, I have 3 kids in the school system, so I understood because we didn't know what COVID was. I wanted all the kids to be safe. I wanted my kids to be safe. But when it closed, the building was getting built out. So all of our revenue and income was based in the public schools and the public sectors, meaning like public libraries and community centers. And we weren't essential, although cooking is a life skill that is essential, but we weren't considered essential during the shutdown. So about 99% of our income vanished that quick. And we still had to continue the commitment to build so that we wouldn't lose what we already invested. And so we had our savings and we just continued to build. Even in that, we were denied unemployment because we were business owners. And it took a while for the government to understand that the business owners needed assistance.
They need help too.
And honey, it took a while. But you know what? We made it through. We did what we needed to do. And then on July 13, 2020, I will never forget that date, we had approval from the county to open our doors. And, we had the mask policy. We had to follow all the guidelines. We had to cut registration off to do our youth programs because we wanted to be safe, because we didn't understand COVID at that time. And we wanted to keep students safe, because you have to make money to survive and take care of your family, but you have to be smart. You have to be smart. You got to think about, these people are trusting us to teach their kids. So we need to protect them as if we would protect our own children. So we cut off registration. And things just began to happen. We began to pick up more schools for after-school programs. People were bringing us in for daytime field trips. They were bringing the youth here. I was trying to get a van and a bus so that we could pick up kids that had transportation issues and went on the bus line to come to do after-school classes with them. I think out of the box all the time. That's my heart. I want to help the kids, but I have to have the funding to do stuff. And things just kept growing. And like I said, we are now in all of Richmond Public School elementary schools. We do the majority of their middle schools. We're in Chesterfield County. We're in Henrico, Hopewell. I mean, we have stretched far in our quest to teach the youth in these after-school programs.
Awesome. I love the fact that you were able to make that pivot. But also, let's dive a little bit deeper into that pivot after COVID hit, because you weren't making any money at that point because, like you said, 90% of your revenue was relying on education, but also these other places that you were doing classes at. So once all those things shut down, how did you continue to make sure that you had a little bit of money coming in outside of your savings?
So like I said before, I'm a person that thinks out of the box, and I have ideas that just flow. They just flow. It used to get me in trouble when I was younger, but it paid off now that I'm an adult. It works out. And so I get to implement them in my own reality. And one of the ideas that when we were in expansion mode pre-COVID was cooking kits. But we were so busy, and it was only a few of us that, we didn't have the capacity to add on more services. And so when COVID hit, I was pushed into that. And I said, Romel, I've been wanting to do these cooking kits. And I said, we can pair it up with virtual classes, and we can do no contact drop-offs and do virtual cooking classes. And honey, I had everything in the kits. We had some pans and dishes. We had all the ingredients. We even put little activities in. So if we were baking, if it was a baking kit, we had activities and worksheets to do together, painting, word searches, reading, writing, and math. Measuring spoons, measuring cups, talking about the difference between the volumes, dry volumes when you're measuring, and wet volumes. We were doing it all. And that is one of the things that made us survive through COVID. But also because the school systems, because of course they couldn't keep up with the contracts because the schools were closed. And I presented that to them, and they were like, that's a fabulous idea. How'd you think about that? I said, I just think about these things. I just think about it. And they were able to tweak our contracts so that we can keep a portion of the funding and keep on going. I mean, Romel was driving all the way out to Powhatan. He was driving Richmond, Chesterfield, Henrico, Mosley, driving around. And we got permission from the county because our building was fine. We just couldn't open it yet. Because it's like a restaurant kitchen, too, to prepare the kits in here. So we have a food permit and a food license, so we can prepare things here. And so we did that. We had our kids here. They were doing virtual learning in the back. I was being a teacher virtually with them in the back. And we were working out front. We also created a virtual care center. So we had students that came here whose parents do on and off drop-offs, so you can do bundles weekly and daily, to where we would make sure that they had a good meal. We would incorporate cooking and baking. We would go outside in the courtyard and do STEM and STEAM activities in between. We would just have fun, and they would still be able to make sure they logged in on time to class. And I even got to the point where we were communicating with the teachers because we wanted to know what's going on. Baby over here playing video games, you want us to help keep them on track. So that was another thing we did. Those two things helped us pivot through COVID and survive.
Wonderful. And I love the fact that you were able to sit and think about that pivot, because I feel like in any business, something's going to happen. You're going to have that challenge. Is in your mindset, figuring out what the solution can be and also knowing your options. So like you're being able to go ahead and be like, okay, I can't do physical learning. Okay, fine. We can't be face to face because we have COVID going on, but there's a lot of virtual learning going on that I can do. And it also provides a service not only to families, but still students in the lens of making sure they're in a safe space, right? But also reinforcing the learning that they're getting in school as far as math and reading and all the other educational components are concerned.
Yes, and it did all of that. And to think about and the teachers in the school system had to deal with this portion as well too. Virtual learning and teaching is not the same as in-person learning and teaching. And I'm blessed to be a person that can pivot back and forth. I think it's just the way my personality is, but also because I have children. And they're like, my heart's desire is to just do the best that I can for them. Now, do I do it perfect every time? No. I tell my kids all the time in our after-school programs and classes, I do the best that I can. Sometimes I mess up, but that doesn't mean that I can't try it again, because that's how I get better and better. Because nobody can do everything almost perfect. Some people it seems like they can do, but I'm not one of those people. And I try to teach that point over to the kids in our after-school programs, that you have have to keep going. You have to keep pushing. You have to bounce back, because in reality, that's what those kids have to do. A lot of times with these programs, and this helped as well when we did the virtual kits and drop-off kits, a lot of our students, and when I say a lot, it's probably about 80 to 90% of our kids in our after-school programs, this is their meal. This is their food. And we always put extra in those kits because we knew a lot of the families already. Because we live in our community. The community that we're teaching in over here in our side of town, we live in them. They come to the cooking school and see us. We go to the same grocery stores. You know, they go to the same school as my kids. So I know when my kids don't pay in after school programs because my kids and my students are coming back and telling me. But that's the food that they are relying on, and it is good quality food. Because some of them were even in person saving the food. And it kind of, it gets me because they were saving half of the food. And you notice these things, and even though you already know what it is, you still just want to kind of see if that's really what they're doing, saving it for the sibling. And they would say, well, I'm just saving it for my little brother and my little sister. And you just leave it alone, and I make sure they get a little bit extra. And that was one of the things to where, you know, I was telling them, that's another reason why one of the points I gave in that proposal for those virtual contracts with the school systems translating into the virtual atmosphere with us. I said, you know, these kids are also dependent on this food. Yes, you have started giving them the meals during the daytime, but, you know, this also helps them. And then we even started incorporating after school family virtual classes, family kit size. Because my thing is family is huge. No matter who is in your family, it is a family, and that family helps keep those kids in those after school programs.
I know that's right. So taking care of the children and the community at the same time. So after you made this pivot, and then as time goes on, the world starts to open up again.
Yes.
Right? Peeking outside, staying out there a little bit longer, you know, things starting to open up. You guys say hey to the world again. Yes. So how did you begin to make that transition again and reestablish those relationships that you've had with schools and with families, being that they've been with you for a while now going through the pandemic, to let them know that your services were going back to its usual schedule, or, you know, you're branching out. But also in the process, you did another business venture that I want you to share with us as well.
Okay. So I never let go. I never let go of the connections. I didn't stop talking to the school districts or the representatives of the nonprofits that allowed us to be in the community to provide these classes for the students and after school programs. I never stopped communication with them. And it wasn't even always to try to secure a paycheck. It was also checking on them to see if they were okay, because the mentality of COVID, it hits everybody. And that's when I say to people, when we may have youth in our after school programs that may have a bit troublesome qualities about them, you know, I said to them, if grown people were losing their minds during COVID, what do you expect from a child who is going through all of these hormones? You don't know what else is going through at home. You don't know if they have food to eat today. You don't know if they're suffering in school and what COVID did to them. I said, what do you think is going on with them? You have to be patient with them, and you have to work with them. And I've known a lot of providers that had dropped off because they could not handle the effects of what COVID did. But somebody was patient with me one day. I want to be patient with the kids today. And we went into that by staying in contact throughout, checking on our partners, also coming with ideas, feeding them ideas, a lot of different meetings, just inching back into talking to the kids when we get there. That first class, cooking class back, it was kind of like a, how are you doing? Let's talk about things. What do you want? Student voice, student choice. We are huge with that. Believe it or not, kids, a lot of them know what they want. They may not know the exact words to use to get it because they're young. They don't have the vocabulary and experience of older people as I do. I call myself an older person. They don't have that because I've lived longer and I've experienced more. But I tell them, I said, if you don't know the words, tell me in your words and I can let you know how I understood it, and then you tell me if that was right. That's all you have to do. And sometimes even in the programs, the kids just want to sit there and just listen, and then someone want to sit there and just talk. And you can actually incorporate that stuff into your program. So that's what we did. We got to know them better. We kept in contact. And remember, a lot of my students I stayed on with virtual. So then when we moved in person, the other kids may have been new to the district, but we were just getting back in there and talking. We had to talk it up and create that relationship again. We had to establish that in-person relationship again. And that's what we did. We stayed in contact. We did follow-up calls with the families to see how they were doing. The parents would email us pictures. I mean, when I say we communicated, I would stay on phone calls. My husband was like, you've been on that phone for a long time doing your follow-up calls, and I'm done with mine. But I would stay on I should have been calling the dads, and he should have been calling the moms or the aunties and uncles, because me and the aunts and grandmothers and moms, we would just be like, yes, they did this, they did this. And how the child has just developed and growing through an after-school program. It was amazing. And the calls would be like 45 minutes long each. It was and I had a long list of people to call. It was long. But it made me, they may not have even noticed it, but they say that I'm helping their kids, but they're helping me too, because it just, when you have something that makes you feel like you have a purpose, and so much is going on with life, you can get bombarded. But when the parent or the family member or the guardian tells you that their child has just opened up and learned this and that from an after-school program that you have for 1 hour a day or 2 hours, 2 times a week, it amazes me in how much they learn, because sometimes they sit there and you may not even know if you're getting through to them, but you keep on pushing, and then come to find out, I get through to them. They just don't want the other kids to know it because they have to maintain that reputation.
Right. Can't be looking soft.
You see? And we have athletes. I mean, we have football players, basketball players, and they can cook. I mean, like, literally, they could go into being a chef in culinary school. I mean, they miss a few after-school classes because sometimes it interferes with practice and their games. And sometimes we go to their games. Like, if we finish class and we're already at the school, Mr. Luckey, he'll go to that game, or we'll log in virtually and watch them, and then we are connecting with our students. I'll connect with them, and Ramel connects with them, and we're talking about their game, and the change in the light up that happens on their face when they realize you were at their game, even if they lost, they would be like, you came to my game? I'm like, yeah, you did this and this, and you should have did that and that. They're engaged in class, and they're helping keep other children engaged, and then they're bringing in more of the kids into the class. And our classes are always booked to the max. The nonprofits that bring us in and give us the opportunity to reach our students, our class numbers keep going up, but they can't even go up anymore because the capacity that can fit in the classroom. So they keep on adding more classes, but now to the point to where it's just, people just want to be in the class, not just because it's food, but just because of the connection in the after-school program that we have with the students.
That is amazing. That is awesome. Like you said, checking in with the families is key, following up with them to see how they're doing, because you do become that part of the community as well. It takes a village, as we say, or as we hear, like time and time again, not just out in the world, but also on the show. So you start to become a part of those families' village when it comes to their child. So showing up for them, it becomes very reassuring, like you said, and also letting you know that, I am where I need to be. This is fulfilling.
Yes.
So now that you're back and active in 10,000 other places.
It feels like it does.
In 10,000 other places, like, what is next for Victoria's Kitchen?
We are so happy. We are expanding into our second location, which is next door to our kids' cooking school, because we are incorporating and growing our youth enrichment programming and our family programming. That space next door is going to have a capacity to hold 50-something people. We're going to have kidpreneur workshops. We're going to have emotional learning. We're going to have training sessions. People are going to be coming in and able to use the space. We have youth groups from the community that's already booking to be on the calendar to bring their youth groups in there. We're going to have like youth poetry nights, things that draw the kids in the after school programs. And I had said to my kids, whatever we can do within an after school program in a camp, it's going to be done next door. I said, we are bringing it all. We're bringing it all. No kid is going to be left out. We're going to have multiple options because every child has a different personality. And you don't want to just have it fixed on that one set, because that's where we get in trouble a lot when we're dealing with the kids in our cities and our counties. Sometimes certain programs only want this certain type of child. Every child needs love and help and attention. But you can't just leave a whole bundle of kids out because of their background. Because if we did that, we wouldn't have all of the different people that did so much in our society today. If a kid doesn't have transportation or a car, what would make them feel that they need to leave that child left out of an experience? The children have to experience things on different levels in order to get an understanding of their community, of their economy, and of a different lifestyle. You have to introduce them into that. And if that means I have to rent a vehicle, if we can't purchase one ourselves and we don't have that funding, we have plenty of partners. We have plenty of community partners. They have vans and stuff. We're going to get them up here. They've already signed on, because I cannot stand it when they are left out. It's not the baby's fault that they don't have access to that. And we want to make sure, because then some of the parents, they are doing the best that they can, but they're not able to get off their job. And once you have a job, anybody who has worked for somebody before or worked in their life know that once you have a job, you want to keep your job because you need to continue to take care of your children. So you may not be able to drive them somewhere. They may not have enough gas money. Well, we don't want them to have to worry about that. We want those kids to still be in our youth after school and out of school programming. So we're partnering with other people to see if we can get them to bring them here.
I know that's right. Go ahead and make sure those babies come into your doors and get what they need. You tell them. Oh, well, I'm excited for your future ventures and all the other streams of income that you are creating for yourself. So I look forward to see how that's going to turn out for you. And I know it's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. I wouldn't be surprised if you showed up on somebody's newspaper on front page. Like, yes, that's it. That's right there. More of this, more of this. More of this right here. More of this right here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into our Professionals Lounge. Professionals Lounge is a segment of the show that allows guests to share advice with other practitioners in the OST and youth development field about how they can begin growing their gifts and talents, but also develop themselves as professionals in the field. Here's our Professionals Lounge conversation. Okay, Ellen, so for Professionals Lounge, my question for you is, what are 3 tips you would give community members that wanted to start a workshop or a class to teach children a skill and partner with another after-school program or partner with school districts?
The number one tip would be you have to be passionate about what you are going to start, because, honey, you will be tired. You will be tired. You will need to pull strength from areas where you did not know you needed to pull strength from. But it's different when you have a passion for it, because that passion is larger than an adrenaline kick. When you want something and you love something and you care about it, you go for it. I don't know how to describe it. It just pushes you to keep getting it done. And then you do it in a beautiful way, not in a money-making way, but in a beautiful way that incorporates high-quality programming for the kids and the community. So you have to, number 1, be passionate. Number 2, baby, do your research. You can't just jump into things because it's something that you think you may want to do or you have done. You have to research. If you're going to do something, be top-notch, be the number 1 person at doing it, okay? And if you're not number 1, research, try again, learn. Get everything that you need to incorporate a curriculum. You need a curriculum, okay? Research, create the curriculum. That's number 2. Number 3, have fun with it. Have fun with it. And when I say have fun, be an adult. You have to be mature and have fun and be relatable. Think about what you may have liked and how you wanted to feel as a kid. Sometimes you have to even think about adults that may have made you feel a way you did not want to feel as a kid, so that you can keep that ingrained in your head so that you do not do that, because sometimes it's hard to be on your guard. when you're dealing with multiple kids who are from certain detrimental situations, it's not the baby's fault, but you have to watch yourself. And you need to constantly remember, has an adult ever did something to me that I did not like? So that you do not do that to that child, and you create an atmosphere that is loving and caring, at the same time being stern when you need to, because if you truly love a child and want them to succeed, you cannot let them get away with everything, because in this world they will not be able to get away with everything. So you have to be caring, stern, happy, and have fun. Those are my 3 tips.
Oh, I'll take them. I'll take them. All of them. I will take all of them. Oh, thank you, Ellen, for being on the show and spending this time with us to give us this wonderful advice, but also tell us about Victoria's Kitchen and all the wonderful things that you're doing with our students, but also in the community at the same time. Do you have any social media handles that you want to share with anyone so they can get in touch with you, or, just ask some more questions?
I do. So we have a website, victoriascookingschool.com, victoriascookingschool.com, and we are on Facebook and Instagram under Victoria's Kitchen RVA, Victoria's Kitchen RVA, and we're also on TikTok under Victoria's Kitchen Kids. Go on ahead and look up there and watch those videos of myself acting the way that I'm acting, but it's all for a purpose. I do that because it's entertaining to the kids. I grab their attention, and they realize that they can be professional, community, and fun mixed up at the same time. But yes, visit our social media platforms, hit us up, email us, call us, 804-418-3921. We always need community support so that we can continue to support our community. And we have a saying here at Victoria's Kitchen: we're more than just a cooking school, we're community.
If you enjoyed this episode and feel you received some good information, give us a review on Apple Podcasts or visit the Podchaser website and leave us a comment. This will help us get feedback on the show and collect testimonials for our personal website. Share us with your friends, share us with your family, share us with your network. Help us spread the word about how out-of-school time programming is impacting our youth as well as our communities. We can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Podcast Addict. Well, that's all I have for today. In the words of Mr. Arthur Ashe, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. Until next time, bye-bye.